She sat on a bench to cry in peace, unaware it belonged to Seoul's most feared man. When he appeared at dawn and said, "You're in my spot, and now you owe me your time," she thought it was a joke. Until his enemies decided she was his weakness. Until he told her, "You sat where I mourn my dead. That makes you sacred." A woman haunted by abandonment. A mafia boss haunted by guilt. A park bench that became a contract. And a love that would break every code of the Korean underworld. While I tell you this story, one that will make you feel many emotions, click the subscribe button. It's the only way to support us. And thank you. Minseo's hands trembled as she turned another page. The antique book smelled of mildew and time, a first edition poetry collection from the 1920s that someone had donated without knowing its worth. She worked alone in the basement of the public library, surrounded by forgotten stories and broken spines. It was the only place she felt safe. Above her, the world moved fast. Seoul never stopped. But down here, with glue and thread and patience, she could fix things. If only she could fix herself. Her phone buzzed. Another message from her landlord. Rent overdue, again, last warning. Minseo closed her eyes and exhaled slowly. She'd already sold her grandmother's ring last month. There was nothing left. Her mother had disappeared when she was 6, just walked out one morning and never came back. Her father had never existed, at least not in any way that mattered. Her grandparents raised her with love, but they were gone now too. And she'd learned the lesson early. People leave. Powerful people take. And girls like her survive by staying invisible. She wiped her eyes and kept working. The book's spine needed reinforcing. The pages needed acid-free paper between them. It was meticulous. Slow work. Like stitching herself back together every single day. At 6 p.m., her supervisor knocked on the door. "Minseo, we need to talk." Her heart dropped. He didn't meet her eyes. "Budget cuts. The restoration department is being eliminated. I'm sorry. You have 2 weeks." The words felt distant, like they were happening to someone else. She nodded, smiled, said something polite. Then she walked out into the Seoul evening and felt the ground tilt beneath her. No job, no savings, no family. 29 years old and more alone than ever. She walked without direction, letting the crowd swallow her. The city glittered with neon and wealth, but none of it touched her. She ended up at the old park near Bukchon, the one tourists never visited because it had no Instagram-worthy pavilions, no famous views, just old trees and worn benches and the smell of earth. It was nearly midnight when she sat down. The bench faced a small pond, still and dark. She put her head in her hands and let herself cry. Not loud, not dramatic, just the quiet, exhausted tears of someone who'd run out of fight. She didn't notice the man watching from the shadows, didn't see him step closer, then stop. Didn't know that she'd just sat in the one place in Seoul no one dared to touch. The next morning, she returned. She didn't know why. Maybe because the park felt old and sad like her. Maybe because crying there had felt less lonely than crying in her apartment. She sat on the same bench at dawn, holding a paper cup of cheap coffee. The air was cold. The city was just waking up. And then she heard his voice. "You're in my spot." Minseo's head snapped up. A man stood 3 feet away, hands in the pockets of an expensive black coat. Tall, sharp-featured, eyes that looked like they could see through walls. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Every morning, 6 a.m., I sit here." His voice was calm, but something in it made her pulse quicken. For 7 years. She stood quickly, heart pounding. "I'll go." "Sit." It wasn't a request. She froze. He moved closer, and she saw the faint scar along his jaw. The way he carried himself, controlled, dangerous, like violence was a language he spoke fluently. "You were here last night too," he said quietly, crying. Her breath caught. "You were watching me. I watch everything in this park." He sat down on the opposite end of the bench, leaving space between them. "This is where I come to think, to remember, to be alone." "Then why did you tell me to sit?" His eyes met hers, dark, unreadable. "Because you sat where I mourn my dead. That makes you sacred." The words hung in the cold air. Minseo's hands tightened around her coffee cup. "I don't understand." "You don't need to." He looked out at the pond. "But you'll come back tomorrow, same time." Why would I? Because you have nowhere else to go. The truth of it hit her like a fist. He stood, buttoning his coat. My name is Kang Ji-hoon, and you just claimed something that belongs to me. I didn't claim anything. Time. He looked at her with something that might have been curiosity or possession. You sat in my spot. You interrupted my ritual. Now you owe me your time. That's insane. Maybe. A ghost of a smile. But you'll still come back. He walked away, disappearing into the morning mist. Minseo sat frozen, her coffee going cold. Every instinct screamed that she should run, but somewhere deeper, a small voice whispered, "What if he's right?" She told herself she wouldn't go back. Spent the whole day applying for jobs, avoiding the truth. But at 5:45 a.m., Minseo found herself walking through the park gates. The bench was empty. She sat down, hating herself a little. At exactly 6 a.m., Kang Ji-hoon appeared. This time, she noticed more. The way other early morning walkers gave him a wide berth. The black car idling at the park entrance. The man in a suit standing near the trees, watching. He wasn't just dangerous. He was protected, which meant he needed protection. You came, he said, sitting beside her. I'm stupid. Honest. He handed her a paper bag. You didn't eat yesterday. She stared at the bag. Inside, a warm pastry from an expensive bakery, fresh fruit, real coffee. How do you know I didn't eat? I know a lot of things, Minseo. Her blood went cold. I never told you my name. Lee Minseo, 29. Restorer at the public library, recently terminated. Lives alone in Seodamun. Rent 3 months overdue. No family, no close friends. He said it like he was reading a weather report. You take the same route home every night. You stop at the convenience store on Thursdays for instant ramyun. You visit your grandparents' graves on the 15th of every month. She couldn't breathe. Who are you? I told you, Kang Ji-hoon. That's not an answer. He turned to face her fully. I run things in this city that people don't talk about. I control territory, money, and loyalty. I've killed men who threatened what's mine, and I've mourned in this park every morning since my sister died in a hit meant for me. The confession was so blunt it felt unreal. You're Mafia. Yes. Minseo stood up. I need to leave. Sit down. You can't just sit down. The command in his voice made her knees weak. She sat. Ji-hoon leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I didn't approach you to hurt you. I approached you because you're the first person in 7 years who sat here without knowing who I am, without fear, without wanting something. I want you to leave me alone. Too late. His voice softened. You cried where my sister's memory lives. You claimed my time. In my world, that means something. I don't care about your world. You will. He stood, adjusting his coat. You're going to lose your apartment in 6 days. The landlord's connected to a loan shark who doesn't forgive debt. He'll sell your contract to worse people. Panic flared in her chest. How do you... I'm offering you a way out. I don't want your help. You don't have a choice. He nodded toward the man by the trees. That's Han-jun. He'll drive you home. Tomorrow, he'll bring you to my office. We'll discuss terms. Terms of what? Employment, protection, survival. Ji-hoon looked at her with something almost gentle. I'm not your enemy, Minseo. But if you refuse me, you'll discover who is. He walked away before she could respond. Han-jun approached silently, a man in his 40s with a professional smile. Miss Lee, the car is ready. I can walk. With respect, no, you can't. His voice was kind, but firm. There are 3 men following you. They work for the lender. Mr. Kang has asked me to ensure you arrive home safely. Minseo's legs went weak. 3 men. They've been tracking you for 2 days. She looked around the park, saw nothing, but felt everything. Han-jun opened the car door. Please. She got in because she was too terrified not to. The drive was silent. When they reached her building, Han-jun handed her a business card. Mr. Kang's private number. If anyone approaches you, call immediately. She took it with shaking hands. Inside her apartment, she locked every lock and sank to the floor. A mafia boss knew her name, her address, her debts, and he'd called her sacred. She wanted to run, But Ji-hoon had been right about one thing. She had nowhere else to go. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Sleep well, Minseo. Tomorrow, your life changes. She stared at the message until her vision blurred. Then she did something she hadn't done in years. She prayed. Not to be saved, just to survive. The office was nothing like she expected. Sleek, modern, high above Seoul with floor-to-ceiling windows, Ji-hoon sat behind a massive desk, signing documents. He didn't look up when she entered. Sit. Minseo sat. A woman in a crisp suit brought tea, then disappeared. Finally, Ji-hoon set down his pen. Your debt has been cleared. What? The landlord, the loan shark, paid in full. Her heart hammered. I didn't agree to anything. I know. He slid a folder across the desk. Open it. Inside, a contract. An apartment lease in a safe neighborhood. A job offer as a private restorer for his personal collection. Salary, more than she'd made in 2 years. This is insane. It's practical. Ji-hoon leaned back. You need money. I need someone I can trust with items that have sentimental value. You don't even know me. I know you spent 6 hours restoring a children's book last month that the library was going to throw away. I know you refused a bribe from a collector who wanted you to authenticate a fake. I know you're honest in a city built on lies. She stared at him. You've been watching me for months. Yes? That's not normal. I'm not normal. He stood, moving to the window. And sign the contract, Minseo? Or walk away. But if you walk away, I can't protect you from what's coming. What's coming? He turned, and for the first time, she saw something raw in his eyes. War. My enemies know I've been distracted. They think I'm weak. They'll strike soon, and anyone near me becomes a target. Then why bring me closer? Because near me is the only safe place. The logic was twisted, terrifying, and somehow, it made sense. She signed. The apartment was beautiful, bright, clean. With a view of the Han River, Minseo stood in the empty living room and wanted to cry. Ji-hoon appeared in the doorway. The furniture arrives tomorrow. You didn't have to do this. I did. He stepped inside, hands in his pockets. You'll work from here. I'll send items for restoration. Han-jun will check in daily. Am I a prisoner? You're protected. His voice softened. There's a difference. She turned away. I don't understand you. You don't have to. Yes, I do. She faced him, anger finally breaking through. You pull me into your world, pay my debts, give me everything, and I don't even know why. Ji-hoon was silent for a long moment. Then, my sister was 23 when she died. She wanted to open a bookstore. She loved old things, broken things. She believed everything could be repaired. His jaw tightened. When you sat on that bench, crying over a life falling apart, I saw her. Minseo's breath caught. I'm not your sister. I know. He moved closer. But maybe you're a chance to do what I couldn't, to protect someone who deserves it. I don't need saving. Everyone does. His eyes held hers. Even me. The confession hung between them. Then his phone buzzed. He checked it, and his expression went cold. Stay inside. Lock the door. Don't open it for anyone except Han-jun. What's wrong? They found out about you. Fear iced her veins. Who? My enemies. He headed for the door. It's starting. That night, she couldn't sleep. Every sound made her jump. At 2 a.m., her phone rang. Ji-hoon. Are you okay? I'm fine. Are you? A pause. There was an attempt. It failed. Her stomach turned. An attempt on... They tried to breach your old building. Looking for you. His voice was tight. They don't know you've moved. Yet. Ji-hoon. I won't let them touch you. The certainty in his voice undid something in her chest. Why do you care this much? Silence. Then, quietly, because I'm tired of losing people. The line went dead. Minseo sat in the dark, hugging her knees, and realized she was starting to care too, which was the most dangerous thing of all. The first week passed in surreal calm. Minseo worked on Ji-hoon's collection, rare manuscripts, antique maps, first edition novels. Each item came with a story, A memory, his sister's favorite poem, his father's war journal, a letter from his mother. She was restoring his past, and slowly, learning his heart. But the calm didn't last. On the 8th day, Han-jun arrived with a different expression. Pack a bag. We're moving you. What happened? They know where you are. Her blood went cold. How? Doesn't matter. Mr. Kang wants you at the estate. The estate was a fortress. Stone walls, armed guards, cameras everywhere. Ji-hoon met her at the entrance. I'm sorry. For what? For making you a target. She looked at him. This man who'd turned her life upside down. I made the choice to stay. His eyes darkened. Then you're braver than I thought. Inside, the estate was surprisingly warm. Traditional Korean architecture mixed with modern security. He showed her to a room overlooking a private garden. You'll be safe here. Until when? Until I end this. She grabbed his arm. How? Ji-hoon looked at her hand on his sleeve, then at her face. By doing what I should have done years ago, cutting off the head of the snake. And if you die trying, then Han-jun will get you out of the country. New identity. New life. I don't want a new life. The words came out fiercer than she intended. I want this one. Something shifted in his expression. Min Seo. An explosion rocked the estate. Ji-hoon shoved her to the ground, covering her body with his. Alarms blared. Shouts echoed. Stay down, he ordered, then spoke rapidly into his radio. Gunfire cracked outside. Min Seo's ears rang. Ji-hoon pulled her up, moving fast. Basement. Now. They ran through corridors. Guards flanking them. Another explosion. Closer. The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. Ji-hoon pushed her into a reinforced room, then turned to leave. She grabbed his hand. Don't go. I have to. You'll die. Maybe. He touched her face, brief, achingly gentle. But you won't. The door sealed behind him. Min Seo sank to the floor, shaking. Above her, the battle raged. And she realized she was in love with a man who might not survive the night. The attack lasted 3 hours. When Ji-hoon finally returned, he was bloodied but alive. Min Seo threw herself at him. You're okay. I'm fine. He held her, and she felt him trembling. It's over. For now. No. He pulled back, his eyes haunted. They sent a message. They want me to surrender territory, or they'll kill everyone I care about. Starting with you. Her heart stopped. Then give them the territory. If I do that, I lose everything. Respect, power, control. So what? He stared at her. You don't understand? I understand perfectly. Her voice shook. You're choosing your empire over your life. I'm choosing to protect what I built. You're choosing death. Tears burned her eyes. And I can't watch that. Ji-hoon's jaw worked. What do you want me to do? I want you to live. The words broke something in him. He kissed her, hard, desperate, like drowning. She kissed him back, tasting blood and fear and something that felt like hope. When they broke apart, he pressed his forehead to hers. I can't lose you. Then don't. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. She held his face. You make a choice. Power or love. Empire or life. They'll never let me walk away. Then we fight. His laugh was broken. You don't know what you're asking. I know exactly what I'm asking. Her eyes blazed. I'm asking you to believe that some things are worth more than control. That maybe, just maybe, you deserve to be happy. Ji-hoon closed his eyes, and for the first time in 7 years, he let himself hope. The plan was insane. Ji-hoon would offer a trade, Min Seo's safety in exchange for stepping down. Absolutely not, she said flatly. They were in his study, dawn breaking over Seoul. It's the only way, Ji-hoon insisted. I'll transfer power to my second, legitimize my assets, disappear. They'll kill you anyway. Maybe. But you'll be free. Min Seo slammed her hand on the desk. I don't want freedom. I want you. The confession hung in the air. Ji-hoon stared at her. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more. She moved around the desk. You think I don't know what you are, what you've done. I know. and I'm still here. You're here because I forced you. I'm here because I choose to be. She took his hands. You gave me a life when I had nothing. You protected me. You saw me, not my poverty, not my past, me. His voice cracked. I don't deserve you. Maybe not. She smiled through tears. But you have me anyway. Ji-hoon pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. I'm going to get you killed, or I'm going to save you. He laughed, a raw, painful sound. How? By being the reason you walk away. The meeting was set for midnight, neutral ground, an abandoned warehouse by the river. Ji-hoon would come alone. Min-seo insisted on being there. No. Yes. Min-seo. If I'm the reason you're doing this, then I need to be there. To show them I'm real. That this isn't a trick. He wanted to refuse. But he saw the determination in her eyes. You stay in the car, with Han-jun, armed guards, at the first sign of trouble. I know. He cupped her face. If anything happens to you, it won't. But neither of them believed it. The warehouse was cold and dark. Ji-hoon walked in alone, hands visible. 7 men waited. The rival boss, Park Dong-wook, stood at the center. Kang Ji-hoon, finally willing to negotiate. I'm not negotiating. Ji-hoon's voice was steady. I'm offering surrender. Murmurs rippled through the group. Dong-wook smiled. In exchange for the woman's safety, guaranteed, in writing, witnessed. And if we refuse, then you'll have war. And I promise, you won't survive it. Dong-wook studied him. You'd give up everything for one woman? Yes. Why? Ji-hoon's eyes didn't waver. And because she's the first thing in my life worth more than power. Silence. Then Dong-wook laughed. You're weak. Maybe. Ji-hoon stepped closer. Or maybe I finally understand what strength really is. Enlighten me. Strength is choosing love over fear. Life over death. It's walking away from a kingdom to save one person. His voice dropped. You wouldn't understand, because you've never loved anything. Dong-wook's expression darkened. Careful, Kang. I'm done being careful. Ji-hoon pulled out a contract. Here are the terms, my territory, my assets, distributed to neutral parties. I walk away, she's untouchable, forever. And if she's already dead? Ji-hoon froze. What? Dong-wook gestured. 2 men dragged Min-seo into the warehouse. She was gagged, hands bound. Ji-hoon's world tilted. Surprise, Dong-wook said softly. Did you really think we'd let you dictate terms? Min-seo's eyes met Ji-hoon's, terrified but alive. Everything in him screamed to attack, but he forced himself still. Let her go. Why would I do that? Because if you hurt her, there's no deal. Just war. War it is then. Dong-wook pulled a gun. And everything exploded into chaos. The first shot went wide. Ji-hoon moved faster than thought, disarming the nearest guard, using him as a shield. Han-jun and the others stormed in, gunfire erupting. Min-seo dropped to the ground as her captors scattered. Ji-hoon fought his way toward her, brutal and precise. A man lunged at him with a knife. Ji-hoon broke his arm, took the blade, kept moving. Nothing else mattered. Only her. He reached Min-seo, cutting her bonds. Can you run? She nodded. Then run. But she didn't. Instead, she grabbed a fallen pipe and swung it at a guard coming up behind him. The man went down hard. Ji-hoon stared at her. She glared back. I told you, I'm not leaving. Something in his chest cracked open. Then stay close. They moved together, her staying behind him, him clearing the path. Dong-wook appeared, gun raised. It didn't have to be this way, Kang? Yes, it did. Ji-hoon stepped in front of Min-seo. Because some lines can't be crossed. She's just a woman. She's everything. Dong-wook fired. Ji-hoon tackled Min-seo, the bullet grazing his shoulder. Han-jun shot Dong-wook twice, center mass. The rival boss collapsed. Silence fell. Ji-hoon pulled Min-seo up, checking her frantically. Are you hurt? I'm fine. You're bleeding. I don't care. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. You're alive. She clung to him, shaking. Around them, his men secured the warehouse. It was over. But the real battle was just beginning. They sat in the back of the car, hands intertwined. Ji-hoon's shoulder was bandaged. Min-seo had bruises forming. "What happens now?" she whispered. "I meant what I said. I'm walking away." "They'll come after you." "Let them." He looked at her. "I've spent 7 years mourning my sister. 7 years building an empire on guilt and rage. I'm done. What will you do?" "Whatever you want." His thumb traced her knuckles. "You wanted a bookstore. Let's build one." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "You can't just—" "I can. I will." He pulled her close. "You asked me to choose. I'm choosing you." "Ji-hoon, I love you." The words came out fierce, certain. "I love you, and I don't care if it's too soon or too strange or too dangerous. You sat in my spot. You claimed my time. And now I'm claiming you." Min-seo's heart shattered and rebuilt in the same breath. "I love you too." He kissed her like they had all the time in the world, like they were finally, impossibly free. 3 days later, Ji-hoon held a meeting with the remaining bosses. He laid out the terms clearly. He was stepping down. His assets would be divided fairly. His men would be absorbed into allied crews. Anyone who touched Min-seo would answer to a coalition of his former allies. Insurance he'd arranged. "She's not a target," he said coldly. "She's a civilian, and if any of you forget that, I'll come back, not as a boss, as something worse." No one argued, because they all knew Kang Ji-hoon unchained from Empire was far more dangerous than Kang Ji-hoon ruling one. Min-seo watched from the car as he walked away from his old life. When he slid in beside her, she asked, "Any regrets?" "Only that I didn't do this sooner." She leaned against him. "What now?" "Now we live." Just like that. Just like that. He tilted her chin up. "I've done terrible things, Min-seo. I've hurt people, killed people. I can't undo that. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to forgive me anyway." She looked at this man who'd destroyed his empire for her. "I forgive you." His eyes closed. "I don't deserve it. None of us deserve the grace we're given." She took his face in her hands. "But we accept it anyway. And we try to become worthy of it." Ji-hoon kissed her palms. "Then I'll spend the rest of my life trying." 4 years later. The bookstore cafe sat nestled on a quiet street in Bukchon, surrounded by traditional hanok houses that had witnessed centuries of Seoul's transformations. Between the pages, the name was painted in elegant calligraphy on a wooden sign that swayed gently in the autumn breeze. Min-seo stood behind the counter, her fingers carefully wrapping tissue paper around a first-edition novel from the 1930s. The morning light streamed through the large windows, illuminating dust motes that danced like tiny spirits between the shelves. "This one's very special," she said warmly to the elderly customer before her. "It survived the war, was lost for decades, and now it gets a second life with you." The woman's eyes misted. "My mother used to read this to me." "Then it's going home." Min-seo smiled, tying the package with twine. "Books always find their way to the people who need them." The customer clutched the package to her chest. "Thank you. This place. It feels like magic." After she left, Min-seo stood in the quiet of her dream realized every shelf was filled with carefully restored volumes, rare poetry collections, forgotten novels, ancient manuscripts that she'd painstakingly brought back to life. The cafe area hummed with soft conversation, students studying, writers working, lovers sharing pastries. This was hers, built not from wealth or power, but from love. The bell above the door chimed. Min-seo looked up and felt her heart do what it always did when he appeared. Ji-hoon entered carrying their daughter on his shoulders. Hana, 3 years old with her father's sharp eyes and her mother's gentle smile, squealed with delight. "Papa, higher." "Any higher, and you'll redecorate the ceiling with your head," Ji-hoon said, but his eyes were dancing. He looked different now. The dangerous edge had softened into something warmer. He wore casual clothes, jeans, a sweater, reading glasses perched on his head. He'd let his hair grow slightly longer. The scar on his jaw was still there, but now Hana kissed it every night before bed, calling it Papa's brave mark. "Mama!" Hana called out. "We brought treasures!" Ji-hoon carefully lifted her down, and she ran to the counter with a paper bag. "What kind of treasures?" Min-seo asked, crouching to her daughter's level. Pastries from the fancy bakery. Papa let me pick. She pulled out a cream-filled bun. This one's for you because you like sweet things. Minseo's throat tightened. Thank you, my love. And this one's for me because I like chocolate. Hana held up another. And Papa got the boring one with just bread. Ji-hoon laughed, a sound that still amazed Minseo after 4 years. This man who'd once ordered executions with a cold voice now spent Saturday mornings letting their daughter pick pastries. The boring one has red bean paste, he protested. That's sophisticated. Boring, Hana pronounced definitively. Minseo caught Ji-hoon's eyes over their daughter's head. The look that passed between them needed no words. We made this. We survived. We're happy. He mouthed, I love you. She mouthed back, I know. The afternoon passed in gentle rhythm. Ji-hoon worked at a corner table, managing his legitimate import business, antiquities, rare books, art pieces. He'd taken everything he knew about moving valuable items through dangerous channels and turned it legal. The business thrived. But he always made sure to be home by 5, because empires meant nothing compared to bedtime stories. Minseo watched him occasionally glance up from his laptop to check on Hana, who was reading to her stuffed rabbit in the children's corner. Some of his old instincts never faded. He still assessed every person who entered, still positioned himself with a view of both exits, still kept Han Jun, now head of security for the legitimate business, on speed dial, but the tension was gone, replaced by peace. Around 4 o'clock, an older man entered the shop. Minseo recognized him immediately, one of Ji-hoon's former associates. Her body tensed, but Ji-hoon simply stood, shook the man's hand, and they spoke quietly near the window. After 5 minutes, the man left. Ji-hoon returned to his table as if nothing had happened. Later, when Hana was distracted, Minseo approached him. What did he want? A favor, a meeting with some people who are fighting over territory. Her stomach clenched. And I told him no. Ji-hoon looked up at her. I'm retired. Permanently. Does he understand that? He does now. Ji-hoon's voice was gentle but firm. That life is over, Minseo. I meant it when I walked away. She touched his shoulder. I know. You worry. He covered her hand with his. I know. But I promise you, nothing and no one will pull me back. Because of us. Because of who I am now. He stood, pulling her close. That man who ran the underworld. He was running from guilt, from pain, from himself. And now I'm running toward something instead. He kissed her forehead. Toward mornings with my daughter. Toward building a life that matters. Toward you. Minseo buried her face in his chest. Even after 4 years, he could still make her feel chosen, cherished, sacred. That evening, they walked home together through the old streets of Bukchon. Hana rode on Ji-hoon's shoulders, singing a song she'd learned at preschool. Minseo held his free hand. The autumn air was crisp, smelling of roasting chestnuts and distant wood smoke. Papa, Hana said suddenly. Teacher asked what you do for work. Ji-hoon and Minseo exchanged a glance. What did you tell her? He asked carefully. I said you sell old things and make Mama smile. His steps faltered. That's very accurate, actually. Is it a good job? The best job in the world, he said quietly. When they reached their apartment, the same one he'd given Minseo 4 years ago, Hana ran inside to play. Ji-hoon and Minseo stood on the balcony, looking out at the Han River. The same view, the same city. But everything had changed. Do you ever miss it? Minseo asked, as she had asked before. Ji-hoon was quiet for a long moment. Honestly, sometimes. He leaned against the railing. I miss the certainty, the control, knowing that if I gave an order, it would be obeyed. That's not missing it. That's missing the illusion. He looked at her. What do you mean? You never really had control. You were as much a prisoner as anyone in your organization. She moved closer. Fear isn't loyalty, power isn't respect, and control is just another word for cage. Ji-hoon's jaw worked. When did you get so wise? When I fell in love with a man who needed to hear the truth. He pulled her against him. You know what I don't miss? What? The loneliness, the paranoia, sleeping with a gun under my pillow, looking at everyone as either an asset or a threat. His voice dropped. I don't miss the man I was. Do you like the man you are? I'm learning to. He kissed her temple. Because of you. No. Minseo pulled back to look at him. Because you chose this. You made the decision. I just gave you a reason. You gave me everything. We gave each other everything. They stood wrapped together as the city lights began to flicker on below. Inside, Hana's laughter rang out. Papa, Mama, come play. Ji-hoon smiled. That soft, unguarded smile that was reserved only for his family. We're being summoned. By the most important person in our lives. After you, he amended. You're still the most important. Minseo's eyes filled. We're a package deal now. The best deal I ever made. Later that night, after Hana was asleep, Minseo sat at her desk in their bedroom. She was working on a special project, restoring a journal that had belonged to Ji-hoon's sister. He'd given it to her months ago with shaking hands. I want Hana to know her, he'd said. To understand that she had an aunt who believed in beauty, who would have loved her. Now, Minseo carefully repaired the water-damaged pages, preserving every word. Ji-hoon appeared in the doorway, watching. You don't have to do this, he said quietly. I want to. She looked up. She's part of your story, part of our family. He sat beside her, touching the journal with reverent fingers. She would have liked you, so much. Tell me about her. And he did. For an hour, Ji-hoon talked about his sister, her dreams, her kindness, her stubborn belief that their father's empire could be turned toward good. Minseo listened, occasionally asking questions, letting him grieve and remember. When he finished, his eyes were wet. Thank you for letting me talk about her. Always. Minseo took his hand. Love doesn't die. It just changes form. She's still with you, in Hana's laugh, in the books we sell, in the life you chose. You really believe that? I know it, she squeezed his fingers. Because broken things can be restored, lost things can be found, and people haunted by guilt can find redemption. Ji-hoon pulled her into his lap, holding her like she might disappear. I don't deserve you. You've said that before? I'll probably say it 1,000 more times. And I'll keep telling you the same thing. She cupped his face. You deserve love. You deserve peace. You deserve this life we built. Even after everything I've done. Especially after everything you've done. Her voice was fierce. Because you chose to change. To grow. To become someone your daughter can be proud of. Is she? She thinks you hung the moon. His laugh was broken. She's easily impressed. She's wise beyond her years. Minseo kissed him softly. She knows what I know. That you're a good man who did bad things, not a bad man pretending to be good. There's a difference, all the difference in the world. They made love that night with the tenderness of people who'd fought for the right to touch each other. Afterward, lying tangled together, Ji-hoon spoke into the darkness. I think about that morning sometimes, when you sat on my bench. Me too. You looked so lost, so beautiful, so breakable. His fingers traced patterns on her skin. I wanted to protect you before I even knew your name. Is that why you found out everything about me? No. I did that because I'm a controlling bastard who doesn't do anything halfway. She laughed. Fair. But the moment you looked at me without fear, just exhaustion and defiance, I was done for. Minseo propped herself up on one elbow. You hid it well. I've had practice hiding what I feel. He tucked hair behind her ear. But you saw through me anyway. Because I was just as lost as you were. Are you still lost? She looked around their bedroom, at the photos of their daughter, the books stacked on nightstands, the life they'd built from ashes and faith. No, I'm home. Ji-hoon's eyes shone. So am I. The next morning, Minseo woke to find Ji-hoon already up. She found him on the balcony, watching the sunrise over Seoul. Couldn't sleep. Didn't want to miss this. He pulled her against his chest. 4 years ago, I thought I'd die in the darkness, alone, unmourned except by people who feared me. And now I get to watch sunrises with you, raise our daughter, build something that actually matters. His voice cracked. Now I get to live. Minseo turned in his arms. You know what I'm grateful for? What? That I was brave enough to sit in your spot. She smiled through sudden tears. That I claimed your time. Best mistake you ever made. Best decision, she corrected, echoing their old conversation. Because even then, terrified and lost, some part of me knew. Knew what? That you were mine. That we were meant to find each other. She pressed her hand over his heart. That love is the only thing powerful enough to save us. Jihoon kissed her as the sun painted Seoul in shades of gold. Behind them, Hana's sleepy voice called out, "Mama? Papa? Where are you?" They pulled apart, laughing. "Coming, sweetheart," Minseo called. Jihoon caught her hand before she could go inside. "Thank you." "For what?" "For sitting in my spot, for not running, for believing I could be more than what I was." His eyes held hers. "For loving me anyway. Always," she whispered. "In this life and whatever comes after." They walked inside together, toward their daughter's laughter and another day of the impossible life they'd built. And Minseo sent up a silent prayer of gratitude for that morning 4 years ago. When a mistake became destiny. When a bench became sacred ground. When a mafia boss learned that the only empire worth having is the one you build with love. If you made it to the end of this story, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. And click the yellow bell to subscribe to the channel and support us. Keep the adventure going by clicking on the suggested video on your screen.